Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about the tools of human design and gene keys. That's a thinker. That's a mouthful, but that's a thinker, So thankfully, I had to bring Diamond back because, we're just, we're spiritual sisters, you know what I mean? And she's forever going to be part of our show. So you better get used to her, get comfortable because she ain't going anywhere. So I had to pick her brain about this topic. So tell me, what made you get intrigued in this topic?
Yeah, thank you for bringing me back. It's good, so good to like catch up with you and connect. We're about to have a whole episode before the episode. We're not going to talk
Right?
about it. Um,
Exactly.
so last year, I talked a lot about, systems and foundations and like AI to help you with like, productivity. And all of that is still relevant and true. But as I was doing work with clients, I noticed, even in myself, in my own business, I noticed that there was still a disconnect. Like I'm coaching clients on their business. I'm telling them, the strategies to get visible with video, the strategies to bring AI, and they're questioning if people are going to engage on their video. They're questioning if they're going to say the right things. They're questioning really a lot because new shiny object syndrome is totally a thing, and people get distracted with like, oh, this is going to be the way that's going to make me money, instead of like committing to their long-term goals. And I was like, okay, how do we fix this? And I was struggling with value last year, like my own worthiness, and believing whether or not I had what it took to do this entrepreneur thing full time. The odds are not in our favor
No,
at all.
not.
And one of the things that people have always said about me is like your energy. Like, I love being around your energy. I love just, the vibe that you bring. And I always saw my energy as something that was outside of me. Like, and especially when I started like really hunkering down and trying to figure out like what my business superpower was, like energy kept coming up. But it was like, I don't know how to monetize that. Like, I can't teach someone how to be
I know
energetic.
because then you sound like you're promoting witchcraft. Let's be honest. Once you get to that line right there about, I mean, come on, you're basically
Yeah.
that. I mean that's how I would interpret it. You know what I mean? So I totally agree. Like, how do I necessarily do what I do and help people and make money with it, but then not sounding crazy or not sounding like pushy or manipulative or any of that. I know exactly what you mean. I think that's the reason why I stay and stand at a certain point because I don't know how to cross that. You know what I mean? So I know exactly what you mean. Girl, preach it because
Yes.
I'm listening.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So I I was stuck, and someone, we were just talking about the universe, she knows. She's like, "Oh, you're going through something right now. I'm gonna just go ahead, slide this your way, and see what you think." So I was on a call with somebody because I do a lot of online networking, and they were like, "Do you know your energy type?" And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. No, I don't know my energy type. It was just some sort of personality quiz, like,
Right?
and she sent me this calculator and it was from directly from the people who wrote the book, the definitive book of human design. And they don't give you a lot because the calculator that she gave me, it's used to pique your interest enough to where you order, I think it's like something like a 65-page report where it goes into greater detail. So it's not gonna give you like a whole bunch to work with. So I was like, generator, emotional authority. I was like, that seems right for me. Uh, so they might have something here. Saw like my profile. And in human design, I'm an emotional 5-1 generator. And so what that means when we're talking about the profile, the one is a researcher. We're investigators. We go down rabbit holes of information. We like to consume knowledge before we like take it to the people. And so I was like, well, what's a generator? And like legitimately, the very first video that I watched on what a generator was, they were like, what's really important for you is to do work that you love, because the energy, it bubbles up and spills out of you into the things that you're doing, into the people that are around you. And when you miscommit your energy, people don't get, they don't get the you that they were expecting, because you maybe said something before you were really ready, or you said yes to something that you should have said no to. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's my life.
Fucking love you, Diamond. Goodness.
So I started down my rabbit hole, and the every like legitimately everything that I found out about me through it, it was true. And then someone introduced me to Gene Keys, which is like, I say it's kind of like a spin-off, but it's not really. It's shadow work. It's the shadow side. Like human design is very like archetypal, and the Gene Keys is more like, look at what's been really holding you back. Like, well, I'm pretty sure we'll get into that, but like look at that inner, like what inner work do you have to do? What inner demons do you have to transform and let go of in order to really be the person that you're here to be? And I couldn't deny anything that I found if I wanted to, because it showed up in my life.
Yeah, to be honest, I think it's amazing how we don't realize what we are when people speak it to us in plain black and white. You know what I mean? Sometimes we have to get it from a whole different direction, like that video giving you fancy labels and fancy words of basically telling you what you are. But in reality, you already know who you are. You just don't know how to operate yourself still. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. All of us are still learning how to operate ourselves. We have that doubt within ourselves. We have that insecurity, and it comes from so much trauma and so much pain and so much abuse from generational, as well as in our coded genes, as well, because it's like, and one thing, I mean, off topic, because it just came to head because I was talking about this randomly with my husband. And I said, what if our phobias. This is just theory. This is not facts. No research, no Google search or anything like that. So this is just theory, just a thought that I thought of the other day. Like, what if the phobias and fears that we have are actually from our past lives that are now warning us of what has been through, what has happened before? You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like there's reason for this. You know what I mean? There's reason why people are afraid of spiders. There's a reason why people are afraid of ropes or just the thought of loud noises. You know what I mean? Because that's the one thing for me is like anything that's suddenly loud, it puts me in like a state of panic. You know what I mean? And I realize, and I wonder, I was like, I wonder if my past life something happened to me where I like suddenly died and there was a noise. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but I mean, that's something that I think about, randomly. Sorry, side note for everybody, but I don't know. What do you think about when I mean, with that, what I just said, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. A large portion of the pivot that I made um, last year into this year in switching from being that AI person to being more mindset and more spirituality, if we're being frank,
Yeah.
um, was to how do I explain where they are to where they want to be? And like deconditioning is a whole process, like legitimately from the time that we're put here on this earth as babies, we're in our parents' energetic auras. So we start to absorb their beliefs, their ways of thinking, their stuff. And then as we grow older and we get friends, we get our friends' stuff. And
Yeah.
by that time, I'm sure we've seen an ad or two. So we're exposed to society's stuff and the messages that
Yeah.
tell us that we're not enough. And, we get to these places, especially in adulthood, where it's like, what am I doing with my life? Like we spend our whole lives chasing this dream that has been like pushed on us. And then oftentimes a lot of people they get it and they're like, I'm not happy though.
Exactly.
And to your point, like you said, some of that stuff is passed down through generations and through past lifetimes. Like in Gene Keys, you do a lot of it looks at the past and it looks at the future and how it informs, and there's the activation sequence in Gene Keys. And so you have your life's work, and then you have like your evolution, and they work together and they kind of, program each other. They're actually called programming partners. And so, as I said it already, like I couldn't deny it even if I wanted to. So when I pulled my Gene Keys chart for the first time, it said that my life's work was to transform the shadow of immaturity, which is moving from this place of like external fixation to a place
Yeah,
of being internally grounded, and to transform that shadow of immaturity into the gift of expansion.
that's
And at its
beautiful.
highest level is superabundance. And at a time where I wasn't feeling very abundant, I was like, superabundance, that's in my life's work. But
That's in my vocabulary.
we spend a lot of time in these shadows. And so like as an immature person would do, I'm not immature. And I just like wrote it off until I really
Yeah.
took the time to listen to the contemplation, to actually look up the definition of the word. Because we oftentimes, and I know this from writing, we develop this connotation, this cultural connotation around a word, and you look it up in the dictionary, it's actually like,
Throws you off, right? Completely off. Like I'm bamboozled. I'm completely baffled. This is preposterous. Like, like I've Googled words where I'm just like, I'm done with life. Like I can't believe this is the actual definition. And it irks my soul that sometimes my husband to bother me, he will use the word in the wrong sentence and just like the word subjective. He would put it in front of every sentence just to irk my soul on purpose. And I'm just like, no, you cannot use that in the context. But anyways, yes, continue. I know exactly
but
what you mean.
but yes, like immaturity was one of those words, and greed. So the programming
Mm.
partner for it is Gene Key 54, which is transforming the shadow of greed into the gift of aspiration. And at its highest level is ascension.
Oh,
And so I legit, like I didn't even really contemplate that one. I legit looked it up because I was like, I don't know myself to be a greedy person. Like I'm like the most nurturing person ever sometimes, so much
yeah.
so that it stopped me from making money because I was just giving stuff away. So I'm like,
Yeah.
greed, what is no,
Yeah. That hits your heart. Like,
you
excuse
know?
me? Me? The giver, the lover, the carer, the one they call me hippie and flower child. You know what I mean? Like,
you
no.
know? So I looked up greed and I was like, oh. And then one day I journaled about it and I was like, I see how these program each other, because when you look up the definition of greed, I can't remember exactly what it is, but the way I understood it was like it's coming from this mentality of lack. And so you think that there's not enough,
Mm.
even though you might have enough, you think that there's not enough, and it causes you to want more power, more money, especially in the
Yeah.
culture that we live in, because money equals safety. We know the more money you
Yeah.
have, the better quality of life you're going to have, the more opportunities you're going to have. So
Yeah.
we live in a society that prizes more. And so when I thought about the gift level of the two of them, it was like, okay, how is this showing up in my life? In what ways am I seeking external validation? And I was like, you're doing it in your business. Like you have ideas where you really want to do them. You really want to do these intensives with people. You really want to do, like these areas where you get to educate people, and you just get to educate them. Like you don't want anything from it, but then you're like, but I have a business and like the business has bills. So you start thinking about like every little thing, like some stuff you could do, but you start treating every little thing like, will this make me money? Is it going to do return on investment? And that then hinders the expansion, because you're thinking
Mm.
about, will this make me money? You're second guessing yourself. You're reaching out to coaches, trying to make sure that you have the proven strategies and the frameworks to help you get to the money. And it's like you're holding yourself back from what you truly like, what would actually make you happy, which if you just keep doing that, will actually bring you the money that you're looking for.
It's so funny is that you say that, and in the back of my mind, the statement "work with what you got and keep going" is all that keeps going in my head because that's the what I started with. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
the reason why I started, and then that thought with what you just said about greed and how is it going to make me money, that only came in when other people started talking to my ear and saying, well, you could do better. You know what I mean? Well, someone's always gonna tell you you can do better, and you're gonna always feel like, yeah, I can do better compared to so and so. Yeah, of course I can do better, but in reality, I'm doing pretty good. You know what I mean? In reality, I'm not too shabby. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
I come from nothing. You know what I mean? I hate this the saying humble beginnings because it irks my soul along with all the everything else in my list that irks me. But but it bothers me just because it makes it seem like it's it's so uncommon. In reality, there's so many people who are struggling with what you just said, the lack. People they forget that that we are being raised and also being structured by a generation that went through the Great Depression. That all that they had was all that they kept, and they hoard and they hoard and they hoard. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And now we are seeing that okay, that we don't have to live like that, and we're breaking away, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard because it's a type of comfort. It's hard because it's like that's something I can physically see. That's something I can it's plausible, you know what I mean? And now we're changing it, and it's now we're like we're literally living off of faith, girl. We are literally hoping and holding on to a string that nobody sees but our hearts. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because you know your mission and your purpose because you feel it, you see it, you have visions, you have dreams, you have these moments where you could just have that deja vu where you're like, you know what? This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you have that, it's like you don't need exactly like you said, you don't need the life coaches because you're already doing what you're doing. And it's funny because before I even started writing, I gave myself all of those excuses and my spirit was like, just start writing. So then I was like, okay, I'm gonna just do the outline. And that's where I started. And now it's like I'm looking at where it was to where it's now. It's like it's amazing, it's beautiful. And on it's because I trusted my gut, I trusted my instincts, and I chose to listen to myself. And it's saying once you learn to silence the noise from the world, from your family, from your everything. I mean, even from yourself, from the devil, I mean, from everything. You get to actually hear your intuition, hear your spirit, and hear what it's actually needing you to do for your next steps. And when you connect on that spiritual level,
It
goodness.
it establishes so much trust, and that brings me back to the human design piece because I'm an emotional authority. And so there have been times where I have felt something should have been a no or something, but I said yes
Mhm.
anyway because my mind was like, they did this for you, the people pleasing, the feeling you got
Yeah.
to overwork and prove yourself, the whole gamut. And now I'm in a place where I'm starting to feel empowered when I ask for the time that I need in order to make a decision because we all have ways that we best make decisions from. And with emotional authority, the motto is there's no truth in the now. So at a minimum, we're supposed to sleep on things. That's hard in the society that we live in
It
because
is.
people
That's
want answers
instinct.
right away. And so even with people, more specific, emotional authority is complicated because emotions are complicated. But something like a splenic authority, the spleen is like your gut response. It speaks softly and it does not repeat itself. So when you have those opportunities where your body is trying to give you wisdom, where it's
Yeah.
literally sending you signals from your intuition, whatever you want to call it, and you ignore that, you are
Hmm.
ruining the relationship with yourself because you're giving
Yes.
your brain evidence of like, nah, you can't trust it. You can't, your body told you to say no to something and you have no logical evidence for saying no. But then what happens? 2 weeks later, a couple days later, something happens and you're like, I knew I should have said no to this.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Mm-hmm.
you'd have just listened to
Exactly.
your body in the first place.
Exactly. And I just posted a quote about that, like how sometimes be the victim of our own consequences in the lesson that we are in that season. And it's just the truth, the absolute truth. And I love how you said earlier about immaturity and how you were like, no, that's not me. But then I realized like anytime you have to say that's not me, that right there needs to be a red flag for yourself to do that reality check. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Actually, like sit down and reflect, have that self-reflection moment because you have to give yourself that time because it's like, what one thing I learned is that people will pray for God to change them. You know what I mean? To show them about me that I need to change or I need you to work with me. But then people will reject every single person that tells you, honey, you are mean. Or honey, you need to like lower it down or do something. I mean, they won't get those clues. You know what I mean? They don't figure it out, but it's like that's the universe, that's God. I mean, that's literally everything telling you, answering the questions that you are trying to get the answers to. And people don't put that two and two together because we ask out loud. So what's going to happen? You're going to get the response, you're going to get the answer, but it's like, can you be mature enough to know when it's actually coming to you? Can you sit back and reflect back in your life and be like, you know what? This happens to me more often than not.
Oh yeah, the one of the big keys, I'm pretty sure I have it somewhere in my gene keys, but like when I do readings for people, one that I see and it always makes me laugh because especially if it's in their life's work, they know. And it's the shadow of impatience
Yeah, right? Let's
into
be
the gift
honest.
of patience, and at its highest level is timelessness. When I tell them that and I'm like, can you remember opportunities where maybe because I don't want to assume that they know that they're impatient, because a lot of people know, they're like, I have no patience for this, I am irritable. But then there are some people who are like, no, that's not me.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, if you would accept this one fact about you, just taking the time to really like impatience. It's all about like wanting to rush through stuff and get to the next thing and this and that. Literally, with that shadow itself, if you just took the time to gain the wisdom that comes with just taking a moment, you know how many
Yeah. For
insights.
real. And it's like and I think the greatest thing that you just said right there in that sentence was like getting to the next task, getting to the next moment. And it's like, okay, if you ask yourself, if you're one of those people that love to-do lists, okay, what are you gonna do on your to-do today? Write it down. Okay, once you wrote it down and you checked it off, now what? It's 11 o'clock and you already did everything on your to-do list. What are you gonna do? Relax. Don't add more things on the to-do list. You did everything. Relax. Enjoy yourself. That's why there's rest. That's why there's that moment to just sit back, relax, and let your peace out. You know what I mean? And enjoy yourself. And people don't know how to do that. They really don't.
Yeah, especially I love that you said that, because that was one thing that like I was a to-do list person. Like I'm bad about to-do lists now because I'm like, I don't want the pressure. Like it's like I have a love-hate relationship with to-do lists. Like I used to
I
love
used
them,
to.
and then I noticed the damage that they were doing, subconsciously a little bit. And I was like, I don't know that I like this as much anymore. But the to-do list thing, and one of the things that like you said, and this is beautiful, especially for like the entrepreneurs who are listening, there are times where I might plan some things out on my schedule and there'll be gaps. And there was a time where I'm like, oh my gosh, I got like an hour and a half. I'm going to do this, this, and this. And I would put it on the to do list because, like you said, it's 11 o'clock and, I got the day. And the one of the things that I've learned in the experiment, because like when you start living according to your strategy and authority, it's like the grand experiment, because you're literally like shifting away and breaking away from the status quo. Like you're experimenting with what it's like to actually follow your joy. And
Right.
so I would have moments where it was encouraged for me to not put anything on that list. And I was like, but stuff like business stuff,
That
like
needs to get done. Yeah.
like what do you mean? And my coach, she was like, well, what happens if you just let yourself off the hamster wheel a little bit? And what I started to find is that in those moments, like if there was a bunch of stuff that I had to do that like poured over, like if I if I felt really good and really productive and I still was in that flow, like, give me the task, like, whatever. But there are times where I'm like, you know what? Now's a good time to have lunch. Right.
Exactly. And that's what, and I love how honest that we can be with one another. And I think that's what makes our conversation and friendship so well because we literally bounce back and forth because what you just said is right. I had the same struggle as you did. And then I spoke to somebody and she said that the reason why people struggle with to-do lists is because they don't feel that they're whole and they attach their wholeness for the day by that list. So as long as I can do that list, I feel whole for the day and I'm ready to go for my next day. But in reality, you've been whole before the list. You've been whole all that you are and the greatness that you are already. So now when I do my to-do list, I write my minimum like four, five, six tasks. I give me at least major six tasks a day. And then maybe I'll squeeze in one task if the energy, like you said, the momentum's still there. But then once I'm done and I check everything on my list, I stop, pause, and ask myself, how are you feeling? And because I don't ask myself that a lot, and we don't ask ourselves that a lot, we really don't. So once we ask ourselves, how are we feeling? I'll be like, you know what? I miss my kids. I miss my husband. I need a shower. Or you know what? I'm hungry. I do need to eat. Or maybe you know what? Taking a walk sounds good. My hips hurt. Or you know what I mean? Something like that. And then once I decide that for myself, I feel good for the day because like you said earlier, when I add more stuff in, I feel rushed and I don't even get to do it. I don't even get to do the things I added on. And then I feel bad and guilty because I didn't do it. But then it's like, no, I have to remember I am whole with or without it. The list don't make me. My abilities and gifts don't make me. I am complete if I know how to sing the Star Spangled Bangle in Spanish or English and Thai or whatever or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am great no matter if somebody doesn't like the way I speak or if somebody doesn't like my hair. It's okay because you know why? I am myself and I am okay and I'm whole. And I think more people need to remember that. You know what I mean? They need to remember
Yeah.
you are great the way that you are and all that you are, the quirks, the dorks, the corniness and everything in between, honey, because why be anything else but you, right?
And I love that you said that because so many people that they feel like they have the permission to be themselves. Like, especially for people who have those open like ego heart centers or who have like the open ajna because they feel they've grown up being told that they have to be like certain, they have to like get your head out of the clouds. And so what happens over time is they start overcommitting and overworking and trying to overachieve in areas of their life so they can receive recognition, but it doesn't fulfill them on the inside. It's just, and so to, oh my gosh, you're just like,
I know, right? We could just keep going and going because it really is a thinker. You know what I mean? And it goes down rabbit holes after rabbit holes because you connect and connect and connect and you realize like, wow, what is really going on with myself? And I think that's what people really need to realize is that sometimes we project out anger, we project out, these feelings onto others. And in reality, we need to just look back in the mirror. And it's crazy because when we were younger, we're constantly told that, right?
yeah,
Like, oh no, it all starts with you. But then it's like now that we're an adult and we're really understanding and gravitating to that saying, it's like, wow, it is very impactful. Like, man, I wish I would have actually woken up sooner, but I'm grateful for the time
yeah,
that I have because I could have been still 60 years old and still not recognizing that truth because I've spoken with individuals 50, 60, 70 years old just getting that
yeah,
revolution or whatever that word epiphany.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? That moment and it's just like I'm so thankful that I was able to wake up sooner because goodness, I couldn't even imagine. But the time is getting
I
away
know.
from us. What could be some lasting words to keep us thinking, Dami? Even though you already gave us so much great things to keep us thinking, but what can be some lasting words, hon?
Lasting words, I would say check out your energy type. There are a bunch of different calculators out there. Soon coming to Diamond Drip Consulting's website, working on that. But Jenna, my human design by Jenna is a great one. knowing your strategy and authority can be life changing because you and knowing your energy type, because there are a lot of projectors and manifestors and like non-energy types out there, think like they're around enough generators that they think that they have all this energy and they try and keep up with us because we're like the energizer bunnies
Right?
of the energy types. And then they go and they by themselves and they're like, oh, I'm burned out. Oh, I'm stressed out. Why did I say that? Why am I doing these things? Why does it feel like I'm meeting so much resistance? And just knowing that you're supposed to wait for the invitation can be like a game changer. So find out your strategy and authority, which in essence means you're finding out your energy type as well. And if you can start to look up or start to recognize areas where your not self theme shows up. So for generators, it's frustration. When I started looking at the areas of my life that were causing me frustration, like, am I trying to attract attention? The big one. And do I think I have something to prove? And I started acting out of the questions coming from the not self. I'm like, no wonder I'm so frustrated. Like, I'm trying to.
Be something you're not. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yes, Diamond, goodness, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying because it doesn't align with you. It doesn't feel right. You do with what you can, with what you got, because that's all you have, and it will work. The universe, God, anything that you want to call it, and put cherries on top of it and sprinkles, whatever, it's gonna make it work. Why? Because it's already aligned in your destiny. It's already made for you. The only one that can reject it is you. Everyone can tell you whatever that they want to tell you to deter you, but it's your choice to take it and run with it and make something of it. And it's going to be a nasty, it'll be a nasty pie. Don't even eat it. You don't even know, like it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Exactly.
so funny.
Exactly. And then one thing that I've started to say as I started to do this work is that the limit doesn't exist, but fear and self-doubt will make you think that it does. So don't let, as you say, your demons, I say you're not self, don't let the shadows drag you down because they've been dragging us down long enough. And like you said, there are some people out there who are like 50s, 60s, and they're like, ah, if I would have known what I knew when I was your age, like, I'm like, I know. So wake up. Wake
I
up,
love that.
people. Wake up.
Right, exactly, exactly. That's perfect. There you go. Let me know when you have that link and you have that set up on your website. I'll add it onto mine so that people can know where to go. Go to my girl, Diamond. She has all the goodness. She's trying to help and produce and give out to the world in such a good way that people need to tap into this goodness within themselves. And I thank you so much, Diamond, for tapping into your authentic self and sharing it with the rest of us because we deserve it. How don't ever be selfish with yourself, okay? Don't ever be selfish, girl. Alrighty, so always keep thinking, y'all. Be safe. Bye.